Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time for another edition of the Esports Connection, the one show, the only show that shows you the people driving the sport forward, streaming live from what we'll call it the center of the esports universe here at the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center with another groundbreaking innovator in the field. I'm talking about our host.
That's right. So we might have a little bit of an audio issue, right? I don't know if
just a little loud. Yeah. Is there
it's a little bit loud. Okay.
Is there a way to turn this down?
Yeah, let's bring that. How about that?
Oh, wow.
Did we
Perfect.
fix it?
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. Cool.
Well, we want everybody to be comfortable because you guys are going to explain more about this world. I still struggle to understand this crazy world of esports, particularly at high schools, middle schools, after-school programs, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction, Paul. Thanks for fixing that audio real quick. Lovely, Paul. As he said, I am Harrison Griffith. I'm your host. And like you, I am an esports enthusiast. And I am a competitor. Obviously, I am a streamer a little bit. We can plug that towards the end. But I created this show as sort of to be like a community where people from the industry can connect, can talk about the business side of esports, can learn what's happened from the people making it happen, like our guest today, Christopher. Welcome very much.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here today. Definitely any opportunity we get to talk about esports in the scholastic space and the landscape, I'm happy to be a part of it.
Cool. Yeah. So, Chris, you are the VP of Tournament Operations at VALHALLAN Esports. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's what I do.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about your position and a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, so VALHALLAN Esports is a franchising organization. We are a bit of a daughter company of the parent, which is Franchisor. It's a franchising business. Our standard kind of operations is a franchising model. We open LAN centers across the U.S., the U.K., and really globally. Right now, our impressions are in North America and the U.K. But then we also have, which is what I work in, we have a tournament operation as well. So we offer youth esports leagues for kids ages really 7 to 18 only, as long as they're still, of course, enrolled in a high school program somewhere. We service LAN centers across the country, both internally and externally from VALHALLAN. We service several high schools, lots of middle school programs, all the way from California to the Eastern Seaboard.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So speaking of educational programs, you were involved at Matter Day. It's just
Yes.
one of the many lovely high schools over here in Orange County. Yeah. And so you were involved in a lot of educational programs. Esports wasn't necessarily your start, was it? Right? Didn't you get your start in just general schoolwork?
Yeah, so I was a high school teacher for a while, and then I moved into a directorial role there for a little bit as well. But the esports program was, and we were talking about this off air a little bit earlier, but some kids wanted to start a program, and there were some other faculty members as well involved, and they find the gamer teacher, and that's kind of how it all just snowballs a little bit. And you think you're signing up for a meeting once a month, maybe once a semester, and you come to the meeting and that's going to be it. But when the kids are passionate about something and they want to push something, they're going to do it. And it quickly went from being a little casual thing that I thought I would do on the side to kind of overwhelming at times, but all encompassing in a lot of ways. And it became something I had to do 5 days a week after school. And it went from 5 kids playing League of Legends in the Orange County Scholastic Esports Federation, now known as the North American Scholastic Esports Federation, which was actually originally funded by the Samuelis, who I think are pretty heavily invested here at UCI. We started there, and like by year 3, I think we had 70 kids in the program. We were running 5-6 different games. We were playing 2 different games a night, 4 days a week. It was wild. It got real wild, real fast.
Yeah, no, esports, it's massive in high schools and at the college level. That's what we're learning here. That's what Paul was really surprised to learn about UCI esports, is just how interested a lot of the youth are in esports. But you also mentioned just how passionate you were about this project, and I find that a lot of esports programs start off just as passion projects, as clubs. At my old college, Cal State Long Beach, when I was there, they don't have any sort of esports program. It was all just one club run, but it was very professionally run.
Sure.
Nobody got paid from the higher ups or any administration. It was just all based off the love of the game, and that's how a lot of these things start, is how I find. But yeah, so I wanted to ask you what specifically advice you would give to somebody who's trying to start an organization from the club level and trying to bring it up to the level of a professional organization.
And so are you asking specifically about like a scholastic program?
Yes.
Okay, so the most successful high school esports programs that I'm familiar with always start with a student champion. If the question is for the kids, then, and that's the perspective, then even if you're going to find a faculty member, somebody who's 30 years or older, and I was pretty close to 30 at the time, I think, when this all began for me at Mater Dei, it doesn't occur to us what the investment is really going to be. So that student champion is really going to have to be the one to not only help kind of run that program, but also up coach the coach, if you will, teach the teacher how to be a good program director. Now, leadership is one thing, and adult educators are well trained in what it means to be a leader, and a leader can translate those skills into anything, of course. But in esports, I've been a gamer my whole life, and I still game today, but that doesn't mean that I know anything about the type of high caliber play these kids are playing, right? I mean, I'm not an Immortal Valorant player. I mean, I'm not a GM1 for Overwatch, and I certainly wouldn't be ranked on the circuit for Smash, but these are games that I'm happy to play and happy to talk about. So you need a student champion who's going to be the one that's going to step in and say, here's what we're doing, here's how we're going to do it, and then go to approval from that school leader. And that school leader's got to be the one to take it to the administration at the school and in the public sector to their principal, and hopefully to the district level as well, and be able to get the funding, the resources, and the help that they'll need to conduct a successful program. And if they can get the support from the school, I have never ever heard of an esports program that was started by a passionate educator with kids who were invested that failed. I mean, it will be successful because the kids will come. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, the market's there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really just there for the taking. I love that idea of a student champion. Nobody's ever really brought that idea in here yet,
Yeah.
but I love that idea. It's really inspiring because really anybody could be that student champion, can start that community.
Yeah. It's an opportunity for those college resumes too, for the kids that are trying to beef those up. Start a successful
Absolutely.
program and then show that you built something from the ground up. And that's what colleges are looking for: entrepreneurs, innovators, disruptors, right?
If you get nothing else out of it, you get to put it on your resume. But I think you get a lot out of it personally.
Sure.
I know you do too. And we mentioned leadership skills being one of the things that you can really learn generally in school, but I think especially through esports and through team sports, particularly League of Legends is a team sport. You 5 versus 5. Someone's got to have a captain on that, I'm pretty sure, right? Just like Valorant, these are all team games where you have to coordinate with other people. It's just like any other sport would teach you these skills. So, it's a very important towards youth development, I think.
Definitely.
What are some other aspects of esports that you think are particularly important towards youth development, whether it be maybe the community aspect or competition?
I mean, all the things, right? But I think when we think about what's meaningful about scholastic esports specifically, and we could talk about youth esports as a separate detachment from school programs, but when we think about scholastic programming specifically, I think the greatest benefit, and this is a message for, I think, administrators and educators more than for kids, is that there is this swath of kids that attend schools that are traditionally disengaged from the school community. They have their friends and they hang out at lunch or whatever, but they go to school, they go to lunch, they end school, they go home. These are kids who aren't in the stick and ball community. They don't play traditional sports. They're not throwing footballs, kicking soccer balls. And certainly those kids are playing games too, right? But the kids that are coming to school and leaving with no sense of community at school, that's the missed opportunity of schools who are not using esports programs to build community for them. When Mater Dei, and sad to say, we really built the lab there when I was there, and I'm not there anymore, but the lab came as I exited, which was really tough to see because it was this thing I worked so hard with the kids to help build. Yeah, and I mean, I take no credit. The kids are the sell factor, right? It's the kids, their happiness, their success. That's what really sells it to school leadership and to, at a Catholic school, to the diocese. But I left as they were kind of starting, but I certainly didn't just walk away. Somebody took over, filled my shoes, and I absolutely was still lingering around the campus for at least a year or two afterwards. And what happened was the esports arena there, and I say arena, but the esports room, if you will, that place became home. in the same way that a locker room is home for a basketball team, or a gym is home for a volleyball team, or the field is home, or the dugout is home for a baseball team. The esports arena there became home for those kids. And then you end up with all these kids who, they're not great at video games, but they don't care. They just want to be a part of a program because they see an opportunity for them to be a part of a community that never existed for them before at school. They're no longer just kids who go to school and go home. They're, if you're at modern day, they're monarchs now, is what they would say. So, and I think that's an important missed opportunity for a lot of schools who don't see the worth of the investment in an esports program. And, that's one element. And, I don't want to take all the airtime, but I think when we think about the other things too, is that esports programs, they build and they become so much more than just teams playing games. They become a casting center. They learn the things we're doing here right now. They learn how to put on a production. And I mean, these are real world applicable skills for these kids' lives, almost any field that they go into. So these kids become casters, they learn production, they learn asset management, they learn how to do design work. All this stuff just kind of organically evolves out of an esports program because it's just the natural second stage of esports. Esports exists because of Twitch, right? So OBS, right? Streaming, Streamlabs, all these things exist, and they're the peripheral industry around competitive gaming. And all those are opportunities for kids to learn skills that are either translatable in the industry, but also out of that industry as well.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better. It's really just a missed opportunity from schools who are not taking advantage of that community aspect of it. Now I work at a summer camp, and we talk at that summer camp a lot about children having a third place, right? You have school, you have home, you usually have some type of extracurricular activity. It could be your band, it could be, usually it's a sport, a traditional sport, like baseball. And if you ask parents, why do you let your kid go to this? Why do you think it's not a waste of your time? Why do parents say that about esports? Why would they think that? When you really get down to it, and it's like, oh, well, I like that he's engaging with other kids his age. He's being socialized properly. He's, all that. He's exercising. You could argue kids are exercising their minds when they're playing esports, right?
My program had an exercise regimen built into it. So
that's true. And so
that's
does
a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, mental health is a big part. Mental health is deeply connected to your physical health. And so when I helped develop the esports curriculum that Modern Day rolled out in their course, one of the elements we had to factor in was, what are we going to do with these kids other than sit on computers? We have to do more than that. And so there is outdoor time allotted to it, because kids who are healthy, they have a proper diet, they're getting enough sleep, they're exercising on 3 to 4 days a week for 45 minutes a day. Those kids are going to better perform versus the other kids who spent those extra 5 hours a week playing ranked Q. These kids are going to do better simply because they're in better mental and physical health.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's very true. That's one of the misconceptions about esports, really, is just that that's also just, you hear that concern from parents. It's like, well, he plays video games at home anyways, so why should I let him play at school? But it's like, oh, it's so much more than this, and it's so different when you're playing in person too. Me personally, when my game of choice is Super Smash Brothers. Some people in the show might know that from watching us. You said that you had the Smash Brothers tournament last night, which I'm gonna look up after this. But this Smash Brothers, the older versions of the game that I played, you had to be in person with the other person. You had to be sitting next to them and holding a controller in the same room, looking at the same TV. Whereas, kind of like if you get a little bit older than I was, into the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 generations, a lot more games shifted towards being online. Certainly. And you lost a lot of that community aspect, which is why I feel the negative stereotypes come from that, a lot of that era. So I really just think that having representatives like you, honestly, you and Adam Lopez, we were talking about him earlier.
Adam's amazing. Oh my God, I love him.
I think that having role models are very important towards for young men especially, but everybody in the esports world. I think it's a very important job you're doing.
Well, thanks. I think, people like Adam, and, I'd like to say people like myself. I think Adam probably is a little more passion project than me even, but, we just took something that I think when we were younger, and Adam's much younger than me, so, but, I'm 38, and when I was playing, trying to play competitive Counter-Strike in 2003, 2004, 2005, no one had Wi-Fi at home. No one had the kind of internet you needed to succeed online. So we had to go to LAN centers and pay money per hour to play on a team with other people. And we would we wouldn't even go play online. We would travel to other LAN centers as a crew and compete against the other LAN centers crew. And, I was thinking about this as you were speaking earlier about the community aspect. There is a pro and a con to the online world. The pros, of course, that, last night, for example, our Smash finals for our season. The two players in our Smash finals, one of them's from Idaho, and the other one is from California, from Highland High School. And that match couldn't have ever happened in a real life circumstance, because no school is going to pay $1,500 for a round trip ticket in a hotel for the kid from Idaho to fly down here and play, right? That would have never happened. So that's awesome that we got to bring these kids into a community together in a world where they never would have had community before. But at the same time, we become a little, I think, reliant on that maybe at times, that we become a little too much reliant on the online world, and our kids don't want to travel to play together. So they're missing that part of the community, and we'll get there. I mean, we're 5 years away, I think, from schools traveling.
Yeah, true. It is a double-edged sword. I believe that they will get there too. I think we're going to have buses of esports teams going around and going into esports arenas, and we're here, we're chanting as we get off the bus and everything. It's
jerseys and refs and the lights. I mean, we're on the way. We're on the way. Some schools are doing it, but not that many yet.
Yeah, no, I could see things going there. I like your optimism, for sure. But yeah, no, the community aspect is it's so important. I think that, it's just like traditional sports, really. I mean, I think that's the best way that we should be representing this, is it has the same benefits. It's very similar community-wise and all of that. But yeah, so I guess we can move on to your organization, VALHALLAN.
Sure.
So I wanted to talk about some of the job opportunities specifically that you have at VALHALLAN. What kind of people you employ, what kind of people you're looking for. For people who are trying to get into the industry too.
Yeah, so we're scaling right now, so we are early in our growth at the moment. We're certainly scaling up and growing fast, which are all positive signs. Our growth rate is very, very good. But the kind of folks that I look for the league operations side, I'm looking for self-starters. I'm looking for traditionally kids, young kids coming out of high school who are looking for an opportunity in the industry and want to do a little bit of a side gig while maybe they're completing their college work. And that's definitely number one. Number two is anybody who is passionate about gaming, because I believe that if you have the passion, all of the skills can be taught. But it's the passion you can't teach someone. I can't make you love gaming, and even more importantly, I can't make you love kids gaming. That's what's so particular about it. There's plenty of my friends sit around and they game all the time, but it doesn't mean that they want to help kids become gamers, or kids find ways to make gaming into an opportunity for themselves. So the kind of people we're looking for is operations folks, people interested in getting involved in league operations. Certainly, we're also, of course, looking for people who are interested in building franchises. We are a franchising business first, and if you're a parent out there and you have a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old and you want to invest in that opportunity, that's something that we do too. We open VALHALLAN facilities across the country so that kids can go somewhere and they can compete in a club model. They can learn from a proprietary curriculum. They can have on-site coaching and be in a safe environment. We tell parents, let's take that thing that you fight at home, right? We were talking about that earlier, right? We were just talking about earlier as a group, we were having a conversation about how, this resistance to gaming at home. But what we do is we take this thing that is such an enigma at home, and we bring it into a space that's safe and curated. We bring it into an environment where you're going to be coached, you're going to be in a community, all these things that you have to fight at home. We resolve those problems as part of our LAN center, or our esports arena.
Yeah, no, we were talking a little bit about how, spending those 5 hours just working on mental health and physical exercise make all the world of difference. And yeah, no, UCI, we had Ron and Jamel in here just 2 weeks ago, and they talked about the aspects of that they have in their program over there. Where parents are so concerned that their kid's just they're going to drop off their kid and then he's going to be in a dark room playing video games. But it's like, no, he's going to have access to all these resources. You're going to have a mental health counselor. We're going to have physical fitness counselors helping them, stay active. So, just to prevent this exact scenario that, people are afraid of. But it is very important. And I love having someone like you manage it. It's very, love to have some trustworthy people who you clearly have like a gaming background. Like, I'm not wrong about it. We haven't really discussed video games at all. I myself am a Nintendo gamer. I play Smash Brothers. But what games did you get started off with?
Get started with or playing today?
Well, both, I guess.
Yeah, we'll start with get started with. So I made a reference earlier to Counter-Strike. You know, when I was a kid in 99, 98, the first real online games were Ultima Online, Diablo. Still playing the Diablo franchise today. I did play the beta and the early beta. Oh my god, I can't wait. So definitely still playing some of those games. Have my WoW days. I think a lot of us older gamers had our World of Warcraft days. Dawn of War 2.
Adam was big on World of Warcraft too, yeah.
Yes, of course, yeah, because he is a little older. So, but the real game that got me into competitive gaming definitely was Counter-Strike 1.5, 1.6 days. All the way through Source and then Go. I played a little bit of all of it. I still, just this morning I was talking to probably my oldest gaming buddy from Counter-Strike days when I was probably 18, 03, 04. I mean, we've been playing together for over 20 years now. So that's the community, right, that we were talking about earlier. These are still some of my best buds. And then today, so I played all the way through, even when I had kids and all my time was taken away. I still play. Today I'm playing Overwatch 2 is definitely the game of choice for me at the moment, mostly because I couldn't get my Valorant to work for a long time because the Vanguard issue. Something was going on with the Windows update. It was killing me. But Valorant and Overwatch 2 probably my biggest games, but I love to get my PS5 out and play a little, Ghost of Tsushima is fun too. A little bit of RPG here and there. Hard stuck plat though in Overwatch. Hard stuck plat. Can't get over that hump.
Okay, so I can relate to everything except for the shooting games, but it seems like that's what your big focus is because as far as shooting games go, I played Pokemon Snap. And
okay. I mean, I'm familiar.
I am terrible in any multiplayer shooting game though, but it seems like the theme was you like Counter-Strike and Paul, you might not know, but Overwatch and Valorant is the other one. They're basically they're children of Counter-Strike Global Offensive, I would say, right?
100%. I would argue that every single modern shooter, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six, all these are really they're just post-existing because of its predecessor, which is Counter-Strike, which to be fair is a mod of Half-Life, so give credit where credit's due. But Counter-Strike is really the godfather of the modern FPS. I mean, all games are the same type, five-player tacticals. They all come from that.
So I understand there's the team aspect of that. So I played a little bit of MOBAs like League of Legends. I played a little bit because I try to get into the whole team mindset. I love playing with my friends,
of course,
my buddies. But I mostly play Smash Brothers, which is a single and sometimes two-player game. So I don't really understand really all the competitive aspect of gathering a team and actually coordinating and making practices. What are some of the challenges as a tournament organizer too that you face with having a full team of 5 get together?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge we're facing today is that esports is still so much in its infancy when we think about industry. And, esports has been around for 20 years. And, the League of Legends, World Finals in Germany in 2019 had something like 17 million viewers or some ridiculously outrageous number. All that's great. But when we're talking about the scholastic space, which is controlled by parents and administrators, not by kids, we have to keep in mind that the parents of kids who are in high school at this time are not quite millennials yet. And millennials is really going to be the first generation of parents who I think are going to be more accepting of esports. People my age, I'm an elder millennial, as they say, one of the old millennials. We remember the landline phone. And when my kids are 9 or 8 and 6 and a 1-year-old, but when my 8-year-old is 14 and she turns to me and says, Dad, I want to be a support for Overwatch, I'm going to say, let's go. Let's play some Overwatch support right now, because that's part of the generation I grew up in. And I'm a gamer, but I think other people my age who aren't gamers still can perceive that the industry has grown and that it merits attention. So I'm way off topic here a little bit, I think, but I think that
go for it.
I think that the getting a team together right now is tough because we don't have that kind of parental buy-in yet. And so when we think about high school programs, moms and dads and parents out there, they say, no, you got to go to volleyball practice first, not your esports match, right? Not your video game match, as they would say. So what happens is you have 6 kids on a Valorant team, right? 5 and a sub, and then 3 of them all play volleyball. Well, good night if volleyball happens at the same time. That becomes a forfeit, right? And so one of the really important structures we built into our league is this really flexible reschedule structure, which is a blessing and a curse at times because some teams want to play at the time they agree agreed to, and some teams can never play at the time that we all agree to. But what it does is it allows kids to be flexible with their schedule so that they can make sure that they get those matches in, because we know that right now, Scholastic Esports, we're going to be number 2 or number 3. We're not going to be number 1. It's go play lacrosse first every time. We get that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, time management skills, one of the many skills you
Sure,
learn as a kid. So we are coming towards our close.
Okay.
But I would like to ask you one last question, a little bit more lighthearted. What do you think is the greatest video game of all time? The single best video game? Doesn't necessarily have to be an esport. You mentioned a lot of Counter-Strike. Would you say Counter-Strike, or would you pick some other game?
I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't think you can possibly say there's one video game that is more important than another in each genre. I think each genre merits its own. I do think Counter-Strike's the most important shooter of all time. Absolutely.
Counter-Strike, most important shooter. What is the best platforming game of all time? We'll go through all the genres.
I mean, can you not say that Super Mario Brothers 3 was like the best
Super
game
Mario
ever?
3.
Let's go.
I mean, I think Super Mario 2 has got it.
I don't know.
It's
That
one
raccoon
game
tail,
of the
though.
year every single year, but that is my girlfriend's favorite one too. But hey, I think you're right. It's like ranking anything like candy. It's like you can't rank chocolate and like
Nerds.
fruit roll-ups in the same category. Like they're just too different. You got to pick a king for each category and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that
very nuanced. Yeah,
I do think though that the game for me, the greatest game that I've ever played is certainly Diablo 1. I think Diablo 1 was so innovative at the time that it came out, and it changed the way that we thought about not just action RPGs, but MMOs and RPGs in general. And then, of course, if we want to talk about maybe the most important mass multiplayer game ever, is certainly World of Warcraft. I mean, it literally created a market that didn't even exist. I say didn't exist, but was so niche before in Dark Ages and Ultima Online. So,
Yeah, no, I think Diablo was the first game that really did that, like, procedurally generated levels, like, that really showed, like, hey, this can be awesome. Like, you can have a different experience every time you play a game, and it's not just like, oh, hey, you turn left or right this time, in a different way. But
there's no roguelike without Diablo, for sure.
one of my favorite genres. But anyways, that's all our time that we've got today. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on. We really appreciate having you. And this has been the Esports Connection. We'll see you next time.
Wow. Try and keep up with that. A lot of stuff, a lot of games being thrown out there at everybody here. You want to hear more? Come back again. Check out the Esports Connection, where the esports industry goes to connect. Streaming live over Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.